I'm actually going to break it down. I'm actually taking our viewers, thank you very much, on like a step by step by step, because now that the Christmas lull has begun, essentially people feel this sort of lowering of excitement. They feel kind of lulled into like the reality of things. A lot of us getting ready for New Year's, a lot of us seeking change. I thought, what a better time to bring in one of the most positive, magical, truly, your words. I've seen you talk to people as a hypnotist, but also as an empowering keynote speaker, and your words have changed lives. So it's a real honor to have you here with us.
My pleasure. And you know what? Even when things don't go that well, I hypnotize people to believe that it went really good.
I have no doubt. We've seen it. I've seen you. I mean,
the power of words.
Yeah, exactly. And we're talking. We'll talk about that later, because I would be totally remiss if I didn't at some point acknowledge that there are ways in which people can break habits through hypnosis and things like that. We'll talk about that. But right now, we are talking about people facing the new year, and especially in light of what's gone on this year. Some people saying 2016, oh my God, horrible, see ya, hate it, and want change and want a magical life. And we're talking about that. You challenged us before we went to break to write it down, what it is that we want.
Exactly.
Step one.
Yeah, so that's step one.
Right.
The other thing I'll just say, what you just said, is that, you know, horrible, terrible, lots of things happening. Prime opportunity, or to people to look at it as an opportunity to change, to turn it around.
Right.
So a lot of people, but they're like, keep going down that. So there's always two sides to the coin.
Yeah.
Focus. You flip that focus to what's negative, nasty, to positive and powerful.
Right. And so how do you do that? That sounds great.
Yeah.
Like, what are the practical steps in doing that?
Practice.
That's true.
So first of all, is one, people sometimes do it so habitually, and they're telling themselves what they can have, how it hasn't worked out. So they have to, again, get themselves moving in the opposite direction. Great place to start off, because it lets them know that they don't want that. And that's an emotional, how can you say, moving away thing. And then they can start to focus on what they do want. So they can use it as a motivator. But, you know, once people have written something down, then they can start building a better belief system of an expectation that they're going to have it. And the second step then is to do some creative visualization. Creative visualization. What I like to call it is pretending, because if people not just, okay, I've thought about it, but if they emotionalize it as if they've just achieved it, magic happens, because then the people, places, things, opportunities start to come to them as if by magic. But the true magic is their focus. And you know, it's like a kid that and I use the word pretending because kids pretend, which means to make believe. They get into it, but you ask adults, and I do this in the seminars and the workshops that I do, and they're kind of a little bit rigid. Sure. So you gotta get them loose. You gotta get them to really use that powerful imagination. Is it almost like creating your reality thereby pretending that sort of, I don't want to say fake world, but that sort of altered world that you've created actually becomes your reality? And that's how it actually happens. But people are doing it by default. They're seeing things, they're expecting the negative, and guess what? They're so powerful, that's what's happening. It's amazing. Yeah, so, but then people can take control, they can own it, that magic, and say, wow, I can have a different outcome. But most people don't believe that. Okay. Or they want to blame, complain. When people have to, you know, for anything to change, you know, me sending a message is just maybe sparking something, but people inside have to take that power, and they've got to start using it. They got to say, hey, I can do this. And anything that's happened before, I can learn from it and move in that direction that I want to go. So this is, because I'm actually going to start putting it into practical practice, because I've heard people talk about, like you talked about, you know, sort of I want a job, a different job. Yeah. Let's say I actually write that down. Do I then begin to imagine that I see myself at my place of work in my job, or I want to quit smoking? I don't smoke, and I love my job. See how well I did? But yeah, exactly. My gosh, I'm amazing. But like, literally, do you begin to imagine yourself in what you've written down? You begin to see yourself as that person? Yes. And more importantly, like, people will get too technical. They say, well, do you see yourself I just did that. There, or do you see yourself going through it? My response always to that is, see yourself, whatever makes you feel good. Right. Because the feeling inside is always letting you know that you're fully connected to your magic, to your power, to that essence of your authenticity. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in the other step. But we have like that built-in GPS system of strong desires, and when we have a thought that counteracts it, then how do you feel? Not good. So most people feel bad for no good reason. Right. So the trick is feel good for no good reason. Not always easy though. I know. We feel guilty. We feel like, yeah. But that's always letting you know that you have a thought that is a faulty thought, or so it's people picking better thoughts but making it habitual so they don't have to think about it. It becomes natural. Okay, so we got step 1 and 2. Step 1, of course, is write it down. Step 2 is then Pretend.
Step 3, step 4, step 5, all of that coming up. Don't go anywhere. We have the one, the only Wayne Lee with us for the entire show, talking about sort of getting through the holiday doldrums and entering that new year with as much motivation, excitement, and perhaps a changed reality for you. Stick with us. More DT after this.